Hello my lovelies, welcome back to the EUS Challenger Series for Chaos TV. I'm joined by Pulse, and we're on to game number 3, the all-important decider in this best of 3 between fnatic, and they are going to be facing off against, I can't remember, Pulse, fill me in dude.
We've got fnatic versus GamingGear.
GG, well played Vince.
I've got to say, it's a very different start to the cast, and obviously a very different pace that you're bringing to the table, Metas.
It would be helpful if I could remember the team name, but I have just stepped into this game, so hopefully people can forgive me in time.
Yeah, indeed. But we do have fnatic just looping around. The ward goes down as well, along with Luna just placing down the flag. And I don't think he saw the ward just in time, but he's definitely scared of that brush. There could be many horrors within this brush, but Trinimir just looping around. It doesn't really look like GamingGear wants to do anything.
They're happy. You know, they're just content to camp around and not be too bothered. But I guess the downside right now for fnatic is that they are just playing that waiting game. NBS LOL is stood on top of this ward. They have the Nami. Are they going to start off the Aqua Prison? Yes, they are. NBS LOL has been caught with his pants down around his ankles. He's popped the Ghost. He's a very slippery Tryndamere right now, forcing the flash from Brokey. And that seems like a bit of a wasted flash, honestly, Pulse. It's very difficult to keep a Tryndamere down with Ghost and picking E first.
Yeah, I think he was expecting to be a little bit lower than he was, but either way, that's going to be converted into the red buff, and it's really looking towards Nunu to see where he can go with the rest of the game. But already Luna and Inspiro jumping up into that top lane and just hammering down this red buff. Very interesting. We've been talking about the Teemo pick a lot, and it looks like GamingGear just going to swap up their lanes. It's like, okay, well, you want to shut down Tryndamere, I guess we'll just shut down your Teemo, and we'll see how this works out.
So it's just an awesome idea from GamingGear. It's right on point, realizing the reason Teemo was picked, and they're going to try and neutralize this before it becomes a problem, before it gets into effect. So Nunark right now, honestly, Pulse is not going to be able to do anything apart from spam the laugh, get the global taunt down, and just generally annoy people as Bunny Teemo. There's not much else he can do. It's going to have to wait for it to push his tower and hope that his jungler is going to help him out in the next couple minutes. Otherwise, this tower is going to fall very quick.
Yeah, you can see exactly why they picked out the Teemo against that Tryndamere, but look at him shaping up against just Deadly Brother alone. He just can't deal with it. He's very situational, and he's breaking out the laughs as well, so that has increased his man point significantly. But now with MBS LOL, looks like he's almost going to be dived. He's level 1. In fact, Ascrippius is just going to take up those golems. Level 3 with that double buff, now pushing in this minion wave. This is the perfect opportunity to lock down Tryndamere for good. He's level 2, he'll get level 2 just in a second. We're putting another skill into that. Will now looping around. Aquaprison doesn't quite connect, but he will be able to take this tower just for a little while. Damage coming in from Baroki as well. Ram time drops very low, but he just takes the perfect amount of damage. In fact, there's the first blood dropping to Nunu. In turn, a kill will be picked up. 1-for-1 trade.
Look at top lane though. Ezreal is going to take out Teemo with the help from Aluni on Jarvan. So it really is just global action, top and bot lane. Now a race to see who can pick up this first tower. Have to say it's looking good for GamingGear. This tower is already down to sub 400 hit points, I should say, and it will be falling right now. So overall, you got to say GamingGear came out ahead there.
Yeah, for sure. And, well, I wanted to say a move with Teemo, well, all the orders are basically the same, but Teemo moving into that top lane already at his second turret 4 minutes into this game, and he just can't push out any further. This pick, or rather this counter pick, may have completely backfired for fnatic. Right now, Tryndamere still has that tower up. Okay, he can still maybe be dived in the near future by a Nunu, but Teemo is going to find a much harder time transitioning into the mid and late game. At least Tryndamere, when he gets into the late game, he's going to become a monster regardless. Teemo, it's Teemo.
Exactly. All he's going to be good for at that point is being very, very infuriatingly irritating with his mushrooms and the blind on Tryndamere, or Ezreal as the case may be. And this lane switch up is paying out dividends right now for GamingGear. They're switching the AD and support back to bot lane. Also important to note that even though Tryndamere did die for first blood, he managed to claw a kill back himself, which is going to give him a couple of items over Teemo and a bit more gold. So overall, it's just a very nice, brisk start from GamingGear, and they are going to be able to keep this tower alive. Down to 800 points, I should say, on their health at bot tower. And with the AD and support down here now, they're just going to be able to farm this up.
Yeah, very sort of classic play coming in. Pick up the tower, swap up the top lane to the bot lane, turning it into a duo lane, and then stopping the bleeding onto that turret. However, because that tower is down, Teemo will be constantly forced backwards. Obviously, the minion wave is pushing in right now just for the next couple of minutes. But when we loop around into, say a minute or two into the future, MBS Law's wave will just push forwards regardless because there's no tower there, and means that he will be further into the territory of that team of N faculty. That being said, we have Nunu once again looping around, seeing if he can pick up a kill when that eventually happens. This is exactly what I'm saying, Metas. When they eventually push this one out, and I say that, he's just going to actually speed them up and look for the side. But anyway, Embizdale dropping low, goes for the consume as well, just keep himself healthy. You're putting down more damage, and the snowball comes out. There's the kill coming down, and it's a 1-for-0 trade. Meanwhile, bot lane, Ryman Simon also drops, and this is the problem with Tryndamere.
Indeed it is. He is such a slippery champion that even when you think he's going to die, he survives longer. And with that kill at bot, it could also set up the Drake. Sona, Israel, Jarvan are all pounding on Drake right now. There's a pink ward down, so they know there's no ward vision or any vision at all from in faculty. And this is going to be a free Drake at the end of the day. So again, a 1-for-1 trade pulse, but they're coming out ahead on the objectives.
Ibrahiki will find himself the bot lane, lands a nice hail of arrows, won't be able to pick up any kills just yet, but Inspira drops very, very low, dropping into that red zone. Timon picks up another tower, and that brings it to 1-on-1. And with that tower top, both of them falling, and plus the bot tower being low as well, and Faculty might be able to swing this back in their favour even with the Teemo pickup. And I have to say, Metas, when they swapped in the top lane into the bot lane again, maybe it would have been wise just to keep the duo lane at top, because no matter how you look at it, if you put Teemo back into that lane versus Tryndamere, even though he had that kill in that bot lane dive, he's still Tryndamere versus Teemo, and that matchup's not good at all.
Yeah, that's very true. And oh, the chain of corruption actually comes out from Broky, forcing the barrier. Here comes the Aqua Prison as well. Hail of arrows, so much damage, and the Tidecaller's blessing, but it's not going to just about be enough. And Broky will escape, however, loses his tower in the process. So even though we've been bigging up the lane switch-ups and how they've been working, right now, and Faculty have just edged ahead, Pulse. They're 2-1 ahead on towers, and actually find themselves 700 gold ahead overall.
Yeah, and this Teemo pick is actually working out because he was up atop for so long, and the fact that he was pushing to his second turret. I say that, but Nunu not pushing in, and doesn't quite pick up the red buff, not quite there in time, but the ward will reveal him just for a second, and the Flag Drag comes down, locked up immediately. Sonic Wave comes down as well, not quite picking up a kill. Lunas drops so low, immediately picked up by Faculty. The Syndra of No Way For You, and Broky now in the deep end, with Deadly Brother now following up as well. More damage coming out from that Syndra, just trying to lock them up with the Force of Will. And now Scriptius, just once again, just being a very annoying Nunu, backs on off, and that's a 1-for-0 trade.
Yeah, that was really quite a poor engage from Jarvan, because he was solo already, and he must have realised the cavalry was not coming in from bot lane. It was still around the bot tower that is still standing. So jumping in, even with the shockwave combination, on paper looks scary, but if your Jarvan melts in a heartbeat, it's just simply not worth it. Plus the fact that Sona is only level 4, at the time was level 4, so didn't have the crescendo, you didn't have those big power plays coming into effect, Pulse. Interestingly enough, Teemo's actually got a level advantage over Tryndamere, and is maxing out his toxic shot. So that's the damage over time that he will put on you with every auto attack. So Tryndamere can't even get close to these creeps, or he faces being harassed to death.
This is really what you expect from lane teamers. They max the toxic shot because it gives you the laning dominance, and then the blinding dart as well against that Tryndamere means he can't trade with him. And this is huge for Teemo, because Teemo just works against him in every way. He can't get in the minions, so he can't farm and transition well into the mid or late game, and at the same time he can't trade with Teemo, which Tryndamere really likes to do when he gets that level 6. Aluna heading around the side, but Stream says hello and completely stymies that gank.
These eggs too deadly. They're not doing a great deal of damage, but it's slowing, it's giving scouting capabilities, and just gives Teemo that blanket of safety that he so requires. Because even though he does have the move fast, his W, it's not going to get him out of jail, especially against the Jarvan. So when his flash is down, look for those eggs to really come into fruition here. But by him pushing top so aggressively and being by and large safe, that being actually has just been slowed down. Ignite comes and so does the poisons, but he's jumping on top of those eggs. Beautiful flash away as well. Is he going to turn this one back around? No, he's not, but the damage has already been done, forcing away the Ghost and also the ultimate from Tryndamere, and he's still in the lane, Pulse. He's doing such a great job, Naruk. It was looking bleak at the start, it was looking grim, but he's really turning this one back round.
Yeah, for sure. And meanwhile, mid lane, Mazarin taking a ton of hits. We have the Scatter the Weak coming down as well. Plus the Q doesn't quite connect, but Nami going huge. Ryman Simon trying his best, but Deadly Brother over the wall. 1-for-1 trade. Deadly Brother, so much mobility, and Ryman Simon, what an aggressive support.
Worth as well, I think, overall, because he was making the best out of a bad situation. Nami got the kill on Orianna, but Orianna followed up with a kill of her own. So, you know, support getting killed for a mid, I think overall, you know, it's not going to be a terrible situation for GamingGear. It's looking very grim, though. It was a beautiful play, actually, coming out from Mazarin in mid. But we have now got a bit of a stalemate situation here, Pulse, where no objectives are ripe for the taking. Drake is not respawned just yet, so it's by and large just going to be a farming frenzy for the next few minutes.
Yeah, for sure, but this game has just been back and forth, and I'm really looking towards those top lane pickups, because I wouldn't say they're the most interesting, but they're basically what the game is going to pivot around, because if Teemo does well and completely locks down Tryndamere, and they take a sort of mid-game win, they're in a good position, but if Tryndamere gets farmed, which he will regardless, I say, but meanwhile, mid lane, Mazarin gets completely nuked down with Unleashed Power, Tidaway comes down, just making sure there's no escape route. That's a 2-for-0 trade, and we were just saying about a stagnating game, and mid tower gets picked up, 2 kills go down, and Curse of the Commentator strikes again.
That was a real head scratcher, honestly, for Maloon and Mazarin, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, getting caught from the Aqua Prison, then the Chain of Corruption. Here comes Tryndamere from the side, but honestly, he's not going to be able to take down 4 players on his own, especially when his Undying Rage is still on cooldown, just for a few extra seconds, though. So he's going to have to wait a bit longer in this game, Pulse, before he can take on 4 players by himself. But if Trin starts to get farmed and fed around 40 to 45 minutes, that's when the year of the Trin will come into effect, and he will be able to pick players up left, right, and center. He doesn't have an armored stacked Malphite up against him this time around.
Yeah, but we'll see how Teemo builds. So far he's been building fairly AP-centric, and I was going to say maybe he has a very armoured Teemo, but Teemo might be dropping here with the Cataclysm coming down, and the ultimate, just so much damage coming out over time. The blind comes down, there's not going to be enough to pick up MBS now. The bleed, obviously very effective against his ultimate, but Teemo will be dropping, and as a source of all evil, I think people will be happy to see that one go down.
People are probably, fist pumping in the air right now. that is going to be Drake Open, has respawned again with Teemo being that really irritating global taunting champion, luring Jarvan up to top. That's going to give the rest of his team the Drake. This is something Dyrus talks a lot about as well, not giving away free kills. If you are going to go down, at least get an objective in return. It's exactly what Faculty did there. So even though it looked grim to start with Teemo dying, overall, in the broader picture, Pulse, that is a win for Faculty.
Yes, indeed, and maybe even the global taunt just coming into fruition. I mean, yes, it's Teemo and he's very squishy, but at the same time he's very annoying, and the chat goes wild when he dies. I mean, it's okay. Yes, yes, he's very strong and he's the counter to Tryndamere, but again, just the fact he's very annoying might be coming into play. Dragon, so far they're just moving out those wards at the Dragon Pit, and we're really looking to see what Faculty can bring to the table. So far, picking up those objectives are in a very good position, picked up all the outer turrets, plus the dragons as well, bringing themselves into a very solid gold advantage. Now looking to see what GamingGear can do in return.
Yeah, and we're talking about this very much jovial, but there is a very, a serious point behind it as well, that Tryndamere is item dependent. He is not a character from level 1 that is going to crush faces. He needs items to do that. And with Teemo just bossing him around so much, again, look at Jarvan's positioning. He's being forced to come to top lane, otherwise Tryndamere is going to be a complete non-event in this game. In doing so, this is allowing the rest of Faculty to push down mid, to push down bot lane. Jarvan comes in right now, Naruk has been caught out of position, could very well be falling, his flash is on cooldown, so that Cataclysm is going to lock him down, but look how long he survives with the blind on Tryndamere. Again though, you're luring up the Jarvan to top lane, and Nunu, Nami and Varus are going to look to push down the bot tower.
Yeah, Teemo actually causing tangible results, and the Chain of Corruption comes down. Range of Crescendo completely locking up that ultimate, and the ultimate from Nunu, the absolute zero completely cancelled. And Ryman Simon just backing off. Look how low they are. That one-shot shootout gonna be coming into action very, very shortly. But Mazarin now coming down. Will they be able to get anything done? But the fact they are so low will force a retreat anyway. But the bot tower was completely defended by GamingGear. Not only did they get the pickup on Teemo, and we were just going to say matters, and what can they do in return? They couldn't do too much, and that was so close. In fact, the projectile's still following him back to base.
heat-seeking crescendo auto-attack thingy-majig that Zona threw out there. And before then was a case of a Karthus please moment with 3 players, you said, flashing up red at the bot lane. But managing to force them back, they're going to be able to put down some serious pain on this bot tower, our Deadly Brother and Inspiro. Now Teemo's flash is up and is available for him to use. The Jarvan ganks aren't going to be quite as scary for the next few moments, but it's just a case of, do you really want to focus top that much? Because in doing so, you are losing objectives over the rest of the map. Now, we've got a bit of a lull in the action here without Drake being available, Pulse. Is there anything that's standing out to you in terms of item build? I just saw there we got 2 Morellonomicons on Teemo and Syndra. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm very tempted to say there's a lull in the action, because every time we say it, like a double kill or a triple kill comes down, and then like the huge pushes come down. But yeah, double Morellonomicon is very good for the mid game, but Mazarin, as we just say, gets caught once again. Unleashed Power comes down, gets dropped so low. I want to Fearcraft, I really do, Metas, but every time I try, it's just action goes down all over the place. But Morellonomicon, so he's got the cut. And Luna gets caught as well. The Acro Prison comes out. Wouldn't be able to put with this kill. Doesn't quite happen. But they're just pushing down mid lane. I'm just going to put that one to rest, Metas.
It's not necessarily a terrible thing. Let's try it again. Nothing's happening, guys. I'm waiting for the tower dive.
Nothing's happening.
Oh, True Shot Barrage through mid. This tower's pretty low as well, so it's a case of whether in Faculty are feeling this tower dive is on the cards. Now that Trindamir's joined the mix, probably not going to happen. This is going to allow Teemo to push the top lane. Dare I say it? Dare I pass it over to you, Pulse, and say Theorycraft?
I want to. I think the recall coming in from Ezreal might signal the fact I can actually talk now. There we go. Okay, so Teemo picking up the Morellonomicon, of course, augments his shrooming ability, which is all the team, like, that's the major thing about Teemo. When you first speak about Teemo, it's like, it's shrooms, isn't it? And the fact that he can control that top area, just placing down those shrooms, will allow them a lot of presence as well in terms of map control. And the further they push in as well, the fact that the tower's down means that Teemo placing down those shrooms forces the team of GamingGear backwards. That being said, because everyone's buying those pink wards, in fact I say that, but Illuminate now coming in, looking to trade off with Nunu and New Rock. But the fact that he has that blind is just keeping themselves alive for way longer than you would originally expect. Absolute Zero comes down, not quite enough to pick up the Trinity move, the Undying Rage coming down. New Rock, the flash comes over the wall, keeping himself alive. 1 versus 2 situation with the rest of the team collapsing in around him. Beautiful. Scatter the weak, locks up both of those players, and Lynx gets caught immediately with another ball coming in from No Way For You. Mazarin locked up with the Acro Prison, and that's another kill going down. 2 for 3 trade, but they're in a great position to push down this top turret.
I say goddamn, this Teemo, man. He is awesome. Even though he dies, again, he is just baiting everybody out of position, allowing the rest of his team to come in and mop up the pieces. Nami does need to be careful. Ryman Simon was being chased out from Deadly Brother, but will be just fine getting away there. War's going down a plenty. Double buff now for Brokey as well, so he's going to be able to spam away his piercing arrows and just do additional damage on top of his blighted quiver with the red buff. So it's quite a scary thing to have a double buff Varus chasing you down.
Yeah, and right now I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a Guardian Angel coming from Teemo, because he's drawing so much hatred from the entire team. And that's why I like building him as a tank, because it's like people are gonna focus you regardless. No matter, okay, there's a scary Tryndamere there, better just focus Teemo, because he's just so annoying. And plus, he's very annoying in team fights, not just as a character, but mechanically as well with that blind. Needs to get him out of the equation as fast as possible, and because he generally likes to build fairly squishy, that's an objective you really want to be picking up as soon as you can. But Drake, with it being spawned, this will be the next point of contention. Lewis finds himself caught, dropping already to about 30%. The Chain of Corruption comes down, and now MBS lock on the side. Beautiful Shockwave locks them all up, and Inspiro looking to fish for another kill, along with MBS low, forcing the issue. Double kill comes down for Deadly Brother. Mazarin on the front lines as well, and that's a 3 for 0 trade. And you got to say, Mazarin's Orianna, man, so good mechanically.
That was a beautiful shockwave, landing and just crippling 3 players on top of each other. Really scary turnaround, and that is just going to poke in Faculty on the shoulders and say, yep, you've been having a pretty good game thus far, but you just let us get our combos off and you're going to die very quickly. Lots of AoE damage coming up with the sustained damage to follow it up as well, Pulse. When you've got like Shockwave, Crescendo, the Cataclysm, the True Shot Barrage, and then a scary Tryndamere afterwards, things aren't looking too happy for your team.
Yes, indeed. And just looking to support right now, both of them picking up the Ruby Sight Zone pretty much at the same time as well, and both the Oracle's Elixir. And that's kind of interesting, because so many times, Messers, we talk about the junglers being in the right places at the right times, making those, reading each other, and making sure they're in the right places so that they can counter gank. But we never really look at the supports and the timing on both of those supports. And the fact that they both pick up the same items at the same time, it signals the fact that they're on the same wavelength and they're really looking at the same stage in the game. It's like, okay, we're in the roaming phase, we need to be getting down the vision, and both supports clicked on start in an instant.
Yeah, I am a firm believer that League of Legends is like chess, but especially jungling is, because you always want to be a few moves ahead of the opposite play. You always want to be there to counter jungle, to take the objectives. Nunu is a particular master at this kind of style of play. With his consume, he effectively has two smites. He likes to come around and just steal them from under the nose of the opposition jungle. So it's been one of those cat or mouse type games here, Pulse, and we are in the third all-important decisive game, and look how close it is on gold. 200 separating them after 21 minutes. It could not get any closer.
No, and we can talk about the team fights and how one-sided they go either way, but it's just back and forth. No decisive victor over like the course of several team fights or several engagements really opens itself up. Inspiro finds himself potentially caught, the Force of Will comes down, following up from the Scatter the Weak, Unleashed Power comes down, with the shielding coming in from Mazarin and the extra armor and magic just keeps Inspiro alive very, very barely. But no for wait for you, looking so scary. Once again, just that control, using Scatter the Weak as a great zoning mechanism, but Daddy Brother over the wall landing some great Mystic shots.
Yeah, and you can see that in Faculty's viewpoint right now is to play fairly passive, like controlled. Allow Teemo to push the top lane, potentially take down the top tower, you know, over the next few minutes, ideally. But they need to be careful because Ezreal, a character that also can split push and roam fairly significantly well because of his arcane shift, is pushing the bot. So there's going to come a point in this game here, Pulse, where split pushing alone is not going to be enough and Teemo's going to need to start joining the fight or fully commit to taking down the inhib by just a war of attrition. By doing the stuff he's doing now, it's going to be fine for the next 5-10 minutes, but as soon as Baron becomes a very real danger and threat, he's going to have to start joining his team more.
Yeah, you raise a really good point, Metas, because I guess we have to evaluate what Teemo does as a character, because initially we saw him as a counter to Tryndamere, and then now we're looking, well, what does he contribute to a team fight? Plunks down the stream, okay, it's a ton of damage, and yes, he's starting to build towards Liandry, so he's definitely looking towards making those streams really count and do all that damage that you really look for in a Teemo. But at the same time, really, does he offer that much to a team fight? If you put him in a team fight, will he just be bursted down and offer nothing else? Or do you want him just counter-pushing? We know that Tryndamere, from experience and how Tryndameres generally play, they like to split push, they like to just make a lane happen. But if Tryndamere puts himself into the team fight, it may force Teemo to put himself there as well, because he doesn't have the same split pushing ability. And in that sense, he might actually come out ahead, because Teemo doesn't offer that much.
It's a very good point, it's very true, and Teemo needs to start to think about, in the back of his mind, contributing to these fights. He also brings the blind to the table as well, which is going to be really important in these team fights, especially when you consider they've got a Tryndamere against them. But right now, it just seems more preoccupied with farming the top lane. Tryndamere, in turn, is going to go bot, and we actually have a pause coming out here from Mazarin, so apparently some lag issues. So we just got to hope that soon the unpause is going to come about and we can continue with this awesome game.
Yes, indeed. So we've got a little bit of time to take a look at some of these item builds. Tryndamere picking up the Blaze of the Ruined King. We did see him last game pick up the Static Shift first, mainly because he needed the extra magic against a Malphite, but this time he's not able to get anywhere near Teemo, so just going with a more standard build of the Blades of the Ruined King. And as we said it, pause already over. So, Ezreal also picking up the same build he went with last game. Deadly Brother just picking up the Blade of the Ruined King straight into that Muramana, and it's kind of a semi-blue build Ezreal, but he's kind of fallen out of favour, and generally nowadays you see the tier being picked up straight into the Muramana, and then the Blade of the Ruined King. It's still on hit, but it gives you more scaling when you get into that late game.
It's always very interesting for me looking at how AD carries build Ezreal, because you've got, you know, that your Reckless who is going to be featuring in the next game for Copenhagen Wolves, who likes to go for the Blade of the Ruined King and Infinity Edge and just become this horribly high damage output champion. And then you've got the Creatons who like Trinity Force. So seeing this blue build Ezreal again is interesting in its own little way, but there will come a point in the game where blue build Ezreal falls off late game. Varus will be doing more damage, will be packing more of a punch. Jarvan throwing over the Damashian standard, scouting himself a Ryman Simon. Bot lane, we have that classic top lane kind of engage here with Teemo and Tryndamere just butting heads, but it has kind of got a lot slower, Pulse, a lot noticeably slower in these last few minutes, not as much action kicking off.
Well, as soon as you say that, we know we're going to see a kill in the next couple of seconds, because obviously that's how it goes. And this feels like a complete carbon copy of the last game I saw, and obviously you weren't here, Metas, but it was essentially Malphite versus Tryndamere bottom, and then the Baron dance for about 20 minutes. This time around, Malphite has evolved into a Teemo, but pretty much the same sort of scenario we're finding ourselves in.
And very interesting for a Teemo to pick up the Liandry's Torment, because obviously those mushrooms are now going to do even more damage over time and be even more of a thorn in the side of the likes of a Tryndamere. So it's an interesting build. Is it one that you agree with, Pulse? Obviously this is a fairly difficult question because we simply don't see a lot of Teemos being played at this level of gameplay, but would you go for this yourself? I know you're quite the tanky Teemo when you play.
Yeah, I play Teemo as a tank purely because, one, it's funny, and two, people focus me regardless. But when you look at Teemo, he's a very versatile champion. And it's funny saying that because it's Teemo. You see him as generally just an annoyance, but he is very versatile. He can build as a tank, he can build as a bruiser, AP carry, sort of like a tanky AP carry. And in this scenario, he's gone for like sort of a shroom Teemo. You pace down the shrooms, and then all of what he's built so far is going to contribute to that. But meanwhile, on top lane, it's Bro placing down the perfect crescendo onto Broeki. But meanwhile, the flash comes down. Tidal Wave comes out in the wrong direction, locks up a Lunir, but the Cataclysm comes in for the dunk, picks up the kill immediately. Scriptius comes around from the side as well. Can he do any damage? And I say that, but it's Nunu, so the answer is going to be a no. But meanwhile, we have Deadly Brother coming in from the north, and the damage coming in from that Muramana. The wave clear comes in for a Broeki, but is it enough to take down this turret? It will indeed, and Scriptius still there as well. More action comes in, No Way For You comes up, and the Lunir will be dropped in an instant. And now Nunu, just being that wall of HP, keeps Deadly Brother back, but that's a 1-for-1 trade.
And definitely GamingGear coming out on top there, Pulse. 1-for-1 trade, but a tower does fall as well. So they are slowly but surely edging themselves ahead on gold. Just the 1k after 27 minutes, nothing to write home about. Here comes the red though. And a bit of a fighting between these two mid laners and the AD carry of Brokey. Shockwave popped in just to negate any chasing from Scipius, but needs to be careful. He's going to go back in. The dissonance finishing off. That's a beautiful juke as well as a double kill for Mazarin out of nowhere. What about that for mechanics, Pulse?
I know, we've spoken about it before. Just going to touch on the fight that's happening between MBS, Salar, and Urok, just pushing them away, even the auto attack straight into that Q. It was so much damage, but yeah, the mechanics from Mazarin, and you can see why they really feared and respected him by banning it out in the first game. And that's what I was really interested in, because in the second game we saw Orianna, and that was probably, I would say, one of the key factors in their victory. And the fact they still banned out Vayne was very interesting to me, but Urok actually finds himself caught, meanwhile actually doing a ton of damage in return. True Shot Barrage comes down, MBS Lol very happy with that scenario, picks up the kill onto Teemo, 1-for-0 trade, and No Way For You of course was picked up earlier, and blue team picks up another dragon.
That was such a phenomenal play. I'm still kind of speechless by Mazarin duking out the Syndra Q firing across in the ESL scat of the week. So just beautiful stuff. Here comes Echo Prison though. In the meanwhile, at Blue Bush needs to be careful. He has the cavalry coming in, Mazarin and in Spiro from the side, and also an Ezreal just to add salt into the wounds is farming at bot. So that is going to be a blue steal with Jarvan picking that one up. And we're also getting into that time of the game as well as Pulse, where Nunu is starting to not really be as much of a factor. He's not able to counter jungle anymore. It's too dangerous for him. He doesn't add a great deal of damage either. He's really there for his consume potential Baron steals and Drake steals and his Blood Boil, plus the slow that he gets from the Absolute Zero. Apart from that though, Jarvan is going to contribute a lot more in these team fights.
Yeah, I have to say that Faculty have a very gimmicky team composition, and it's based around the Teemo. And before we start theory crafting, Lunix finds himself caught in the mid lane. Brokey following up the hail of arrows, picks up another kill. I was saying they have a very gimmicky team composition. What I was going to say to follow up that was that they have a very good picking potential, and they actually cut in before I could even say it. Get the pick onto a Lunir. I'm going to convert this into the Baron.
As if they knew what you were going to say. They anticipated and proved you right, Pulse. You just gotta love it when teams do that.
Yeah,
but Baron has
indeed.
been started off. Not sure they've got enough damage for this. They're taking a lot in return. And just milling around the blue buff right now. So it's precarious, and understandably, and Faculty are just thinking, okay, it's not worth it, guys. Yes, we can try and pick up this Baron, but in doing so, we may very well get aced and lose an inhib or two.
Yeah, I feel that N Faculty are starting to get desperate because, okay, they have the picking potential, but they're trying very hard to make something happen because they know the further on they get into the game, GamingGear are going to become stronger and stronger because Shadow comes down, MBS Low gets another pick, and this is just the game of picks all over metas, and because GamingGear are only going to get stronger to finish my point, and a pick will only increase that and make that happen even faster.
Yeah, so Teemo had the right idea. In fact, Cataclysm has been just forced down the throat of No Way For You. That's the Shockwave on top of it as well. Syndra will be falling very tanky. Lasted longer than I was expecting, but still goes down regardless. So that is going to be a 2-for-0 trade with a tower. But I think enough damage has been heaped upon GamingGear. They're not going to be able to push down the inhib tower itself. And with 15 seconds respawn time on Nurok, he's going to be fine. Also, Bass, I'm not sure if you're live at the moment, dude, after that pause, but apparently the stream's a couple seconds behind the casters.
Yeah, main fact just need to jump to live because there is that small spectator bug that we have to rectify when we come out of those pauses, but nothing too difficult that we can't rectify in an instant. But right now I have to say, metas, we haven't really seen head-on 5-on-5 team fights. We've really just seen picks and then that being converted into, you know, into objectives and then maybe a quick skirmish either way. So when we actually get into a team fight, you even do think we're going to see a team fight, but if we do get into a team fight, who do you think is going to come out ahead?
Sorry, can you repeat that, dude? Because for some reason I just completely lagged out there.
Yeah, no problem. I was just going to say, first of all, do you think we're going to see a team fight? And then if we do see a team fight, who's going to come out ahead?
It's a really tough one, isn't it? Because Mazarin's Shockwaves have been on point, and they've got this really scary ball delivery system with Jarvan as well. So I have to say that if GamingGear continue with these engages, I can see them winning out in team fights, but on top of that, you've got to take into account that there's a very scary lineup from In Faculty. They've just landed a beautiful Aqua Prison, kind of blind in the aspect of throwing it through the wall on a Looney. Managed to land, but they're not going to follow that one up. They need to be careful because they're really treading around dangerous vicinities right now, In Faculty. They've got the 4 players around the same bush. This could be very scary for them, honestly, Pulse. But to answer the question, I would probably favour GamingGear just.
Yeah, I would resonate with that call. However, Inspiro, if he finds himself caught, we did see in the last game he was caught several times, and that was allowing N Faculty to come back into it, and just as they were trying to ward the Baron area. But very interestingly in this game, we're not having a split pushing coming in from MBS though, and we were talking about this earlier, that if he keeps himself in the team fight, that forces Teemo to keep himself in the team fight, and Tryndamere offers way more than the Teemo. They are now forcing it straight down the mid lane, they are looking for an objective to happen, flag goes down, York so close, if he gets knocked up this is an instant death for him, and Scrippy is just on the front lines, wants to be soaking up that damage, but the tidal wave comes in, just sweeps the minions, completely juked out by Inspiro and MBS though. They're sieging onto this turret, the Shades of Corruption lands onto Inspiro as well, but the ultimate comes down, the true shot barrage, and from Ezreal, the Cataclysm comes down, MBS dragging himself into it as well, the Absolute Zero immediately gets cancelled, and straight with the ultimate with Orianna locking up 3 people. MBS picks up another kill, and Scrippius just tries to lock him down. Meanwhile, Nurok just gets away with his life, but that's a 3-for-1 trade in the favour of GamingGear. Lost MBS but look at the damage and the ultimates that was burnt on him.
What a strange team fight that was, Pulse. That talk about staggered. Nami Tidal Wave, I could understand the theory, the concept, but the execution just didn't work. It split the team in half, but afterwards they didn't follow up. They were out of position. Chain of Corruptions was fired in from Varus, landed on Sona, but again it was max range. They couldn't jump on top of it. So it was a staggered kind of engage where they weren't playing to their strengths. I've got to say as well, this is something I was thinking about previously, and Faculty, to win a team fight, they have to play on their terms. Teemo in team fights is by and large going to be useless, barring his blind. But if they can bait in on his eggs, then suddenly he becomes a big threat as well. So I have to feel that if in Faculty want to dictate the pace, they're going to have to fight on their terms. And speaking of which, No Way For You completely obliterates Mazarin in the blink of an eye, and that's going to make Mazarin dead for 50 seconds. This is the time for a Baron if ever I've seen one.
Well, you just said they need to play to their strengths, and their strengths is definitely in their picking potential. Got a pick, can they convert this into Baron? They are just clearing out those wards. I think GamingGear know that not going to be, but here's another pick. Can they get it? The flag and drag over the wall keeps them safe, and NFAC are actually going to move themselves onto the Baron. With Lune being so low, he won't be able to pull off this Baron steal, and it looks like GamingGear are just going to have to concede it.
Yeah, they can't. There's just no possible way that they can take away Baron unless they go for an absolutely majestic Baron steal. But with Jarvan back towards the spawn. That is just simply not going to happen. And what I was talking about previously with Teemo being a threat is that his eggs currently right now are doing about 650 damage. So if you can kind of bait GamingGear into a minefield of eggs and get 2 or 3 of them on the go, suddenly you're looking at serious damage coming out from just Teemo. That's not taking into account Varus, that's not taking into account Syndra. While I was talking though, Drake has just been picked up from GamingGear's NBS LoL.
Yes, indeed. So, yeah, I definitely agree with the fact that NFAC need to play to their strengths, and dragging them into a minefield might exactly be what they need to bring themselves into a good position. The streams so far look kind of, not only as damage dealers, but he's putting them in the same positions you would put in wards. So obviously when someone attempts to clear out the ward, Inspiro finds himself a shroom and takes some damage in return, and maybe they can convert that into a pick. So far they're not looking to use his shrooms as the defining factor in teamfights, and more as assistance in picking potential with the rest of the team, which makes sense because their team is definitely revolved around getting those picks.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got the Baron though, Paul, so do you think that Faculty are in the position where they can even force fights or force towers? Because honestly, they've been second to the punch every single team fight thus far. It's been very difficult for them to really turn these fights around in their favour. So, do you think they're even going to use Baron here?
Honestly, I think Faculty in a pinch don't have the teamfight potential to 5v5 GamingGear, even with the Baron buff. They are making this push to happen, and maybe they can get a good start to a teamfight, like landing Apprison onto 2 or 3, and then following it with those ultimates and picking people off, because that's their teamfight in a nutshell. They like to pick people off, even outside and inside those teamfights. So, honestly, matters, it's down to their execution of how they lead into this team fight, rather than like a brawly, scrappy team fight, I think.
Now, it looks like Teemo is going for the Lich Bane next, which of course is going to give him a fair chunk of damage as well. But it just seems that the clear right now with the Orianna is a bit too strong. Even though this tower is only on 490 hit points, it's going to go down very, very quickly if Faculty can get close enough. But right now, look at this wave clear. They can't even get close to the tower.
No, and in fact, they just realized that at the same time and just, well, we better back off because Baron's on about 1/3 left. Can we do anything else with it? The answer is no, because the inhibitor being down is going to mean all those lanes are going to be pushing it out. And once again, GamingGear on the offensive, because Faculty simply can't push, and they know they can't force a team fight even in open ground. NBS LoL finds themselves Grippius. Yes, he's very tanky, but 300 damage crit. NBS LoL looking very, very scary indeed.
Honestly, I feel this is going to have to be a case for Faculty of guerrilla warfare-esque approach to the game. That, like you said, they're going to have to pick somebody off with the Syndra or with a well-placed Varus ult and the follow-up, and then try and use the fact that the death chambers are now up around 40-50 seconds to their use, and try and just push through mid or maybe take an inhib. But right now, in a straight-up 5v5 fight, unless it's a Herculean throw from GamingGear, they should be picking these fights up fairly comfortably. Orianna's items are just looking absolutely terrifying. Rabadon's Death Caps on his Hourglass, Void Staff, and Athene's Unholy Grail. Some serious damage being put down from her.
Yeah, and plus he can only get stronger. He's got another slot as well for a major item, picking up the blue pot just at the moment just to help his next team fight out. But he is looking so scary. 312 CS, and the plays we've seen so far from Mazrun have been absolutely outstanding. There's we'll see how he can pull himself into the next team fight, because I have to say, Mazrun, when he's on form, he's amazing. But in the last game, in fact, we saw him slightly slip. We saw an Ocelot-esque ultimate come out and completely miss absolutely everyone on the board. And Mazrun has been on point, so we'll see if he can keep it up. But yeah, indeed, only just caught that, but Ryman Simon dropped in an instant. And I think even if we did see that messes, very difficult to comment on that anyway.
He failed his flash. Ryman Simon flashed
gotcha.
against the wall. It was... Oh, that was painful to watch, honestly. And he's going to be dead for 30 seconds. So we're talking about picks. And Faculty desperately need one. What they can't afford to do is lose players, because now that inhib has respawned, but it's going to be going down very quick. Alune actually is taking serious damage from the Syndra, forced to get shielded from Orianna's ball. And I guess you could say, stealing a note out of your textbook here, Paul, that play was a bit fishy.
It was indeed. I mean, we don't have a Graves in this game because we were talking about it earlier. It wasn't like a fish in a barrel. really want to make that joke at some point in the future. It will happen. We will see a Graves when Graves comes back into the meta. But right now, Mazarin looking to be once again very, very strong. And it's just so far we see a pick and we see an objective. And the fact that the middle inhibitor is exposed, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if GamingGear go for that middle team fight, because that's a free team fight for them. And you can see that Teemo definitely understands this as the next point of contention and is streaming the area, because they need to play on the defensive. They know that GamingGear is going to come to them, so they have to react against GamingGear's aggression.
Yeah, that's very true. And another thing as well, Pulse, to take into consideration is that every single moment, every minute that in Faculty draw this game out, Tryndamere is only getting more farmed. He's only getting bigger and bigger. And there is going to come a point in this game where Tryndamere is going to be able to pop off his Undying Rage and crush through Varus. Just absolutely obliterate him. Varus is now trying to take his own red buff, but that has been smited away, I believe, from Nunu, because he was worried about Jarvan stealing that one away. So Varus doesn't even manage to get himself a red buff.
Yeah, and that just kind of describes the state of the game at the moment, Messes. The fact that they can't even step foot in their own jungle without just, well, all their buffs being stolen away or even being caught as well. But no way for you over the corner, and the leash power comes down. It's not quite enough. In fact, the Q comes down and picks up the kill anyway. He will surely be taken down in return. Tidal Wave comes over the corner, and the Rock comes in just 1 versus 4, and then realizes, actually, I'm Teemo, I'm out of here. But we do have Nunu coming in as well, along with Roeki. They're so split. Can they convert this into a good team fight? And the Flag Drag comes down, locking up Teemo for a second, but it's not quite enough. That's a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, as you said though, hit the nail on the head, it was so split up from both teams. That is the shutdown gold coming about though. Ezreal before that fight was 6-0, but talk about man mode Nurok, he's like, screw this guys, I'm just gonna run straight at you. And hopefully they'll turn around and try and kill me. Now Brokey does have full HP, he is very scary right now. But that's going to be Jarvan jumping in, and the Cataclysm and the Shockwave as well. Lands on 3 players, Absolute Zero coming through, but Crescendo is going to completely stop that in its tracks. Scipio will be going down, and now NBS LOL is the focal point of all the damage, but with the Undying Rage, he's going to be just fine. So that was a 2-for-0 trade in that mini skirmish. Brokey and Narok are both by and large fine, but again, Pulse, we're seeing that in those even fights, it's just going one way.
Yes, indeed. I mean, they were kept alive and they were in fairly good shape as well. You could see Teemo just trying to get onto that back line, but Mazarin, the damage already from the command protect, and the Dissonance picks up the Teemo, and he just couldn't even get near the Baron. That actually will convert this into the Baron themselves, because had Teemo stayed alive with the help of Syndra and Varus, maybe they could have gotten something done. But at the moment, it's looking very, very dicey indeed. Can he pick up the kill? Tryndamere actually picks it up, and the smite didn't even go down.
I think right now Aluni is saying, "Be right back, guys. Gonna go and change my underwear," because that was super close. Smite was off cooldown, and Tryndamere picked it up after Syndra threw over a few abilities. So that was a hair's breadth away from being a beautiful steal, courtesy of No Way for You. But regardless, they got the Baron here, Pulse. So again, it's a situation where Faculty are gonna have to play super passive.
Yeah, and out of necessity, honestly, the fact that they had the Baron and they still couldn't do anything with it themselves, and now that GamingGear has the Baron on their own terms, they'll be able to make a push happen. And we've said it before, and I'm going to say it again, that middle inhibitor is a place for them to set up a team fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if GamingGear recognize this very, very shortly. So far, you could see the aggression going into around their area and also around the jungle, and the fact that they're able to push them back, at the moment they do have some defensive wards coming from end Faculty, but it's only a matter of time before GamingGear kind of cement themselves in their jungle and then push on into the base.
So, Pulse, I'm going to throw this question over to you. We're 43.5 minutes through the game. There is no doubting that the stronger team right now in team fight straight up is GamingGear. Is there any way that Faculty can bring this game back? Because, you know, the last 10-15 minutes has just been a case of Faculty being super passive, not bothering to even try engages.
Yeah, and as we said before, Faculty have a very gimmicky team composition in the sense that they can't straight up go for a team fight, they kind of need to go about it the right way, and I would say if we're going to do anything, that's how they need to play it. They need to find themselves a pick and then go straight into find themselves a pick and then go into a team fight. But honestly, at this stage in the game, with the fact that they have Baron as well, I feel they need to get a pick and then another pick, maybe onto both of those big damage dealers, Deadly Brother, Mazarin, and then go for the team fight. Because so far, in a straight-up team fight, they will 100% lose, and that's tried and tested, and we've seen that time and time again.
Yeah, it's not unfair to say that, guys. It's ironclad. Every time they've bumped heads in a 5v5, GamingGear have came out ahead. And I am questioning now. I'm just thinking, was the Teemo pick, in hindsight, really what they wanted to go for? Teemo's 2 for 8. He's not really contributing a great deal in these team fights. He comes out from Nami, but again, they can't really follow this up. It's a Looney. He is super tanky. He is Jarvan with a Runic Bulwark, Spirit of the Ancient Golem, and a Locket of the Iron Solari. So they're just tiptoeing around the inhibitor here. It is taking damage over time. Tryndamere is constantly being a presence at the top. And we've just been informed that Copenhagen Wolves is 0-1 down in the other game right now, Pulse, so it's pretty interesting.
But the team fight breaks out here, Metas, and the pick comes down, the Tidal Wave comes out as well. Ryman Simon's still on the point of contention. Can they pick up another kill? Deadly Brother still on that front line. Baraki, just one Mystic Shot drops him so low. One pick is all they really needed onto No Way For You, one of their main key factors to try and take this victory, and now dropping the top tower as well. Looks like they can maybe pick up this inhibitor, and this is, well, I have to say, not only the beginning of the end, but another nail in the coffin, picking up 2 inhibitors, and maybe even securing the 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, I just hit the final nail with the sledgehammer. I can't see how Faculty are coming back. Correction, I read it wrong. I am a derper who knew. Copenhagen Wolves are winning 1-0, so apologies if I just gave some people a heart attack there in the chat. But either way, Pulse, this game is not going to last a great deal longer. That is the 3rd inhibitor falling down right now. Super minions aplenty will be coming in. The question is, are Faculty going to go down with a whimper or a bang? Naruk is trying his best to run away, but he is going to be dying surely. There we go, Tryndamere from the side, he's picked up 1. Can we see an awesome play coming out? Aqua Prison has landed as well, Brokey's running away. So instead they're going to turn tail and just go for the towers instead. And Mazarin's ulti was an interesting one.
Was indeed, and it doesn't really matter at this stage, but we do have No Way For You coming back into the fray. Can he pick up some more kills, because this might turn it around? But look at the super minions just drawing in from all over the map. They are actually pushing them out, and Nexus is exposed. Nunu drops, in fact, to Deadly Brother, who's still alive and kicking. Picks up the double kill. He could go huge right here, looking to maybe pick up a 3rd kill. Mystic Shot comes down, now turning his attention to Broeki as well, flashing the flash over the wall. Ryman Simon will be picked up by Mazarin, and the True Shot Barrage comes down. The barrier comes out and keeping himself alive, but does it really matter? Deadly Brother against the Nexus, and we can see who's going to be the clear victor in this fight.
Well, unless the Nexus kind of grows towers and tentacles and starts fighting back, it's going to die. There we go. That's gone down. So that's going to be the 3-2 scoreline in favour of... In fact, the 2-1 scoreline, I should say, sorry, in favour of GamingGear. And pretty awesome final game there, Pulse.
Yes, indeed, and that was a 2-1, and we've had some very long games indeed, and so many times we've seen the US Challengers series, like, 2-0, 2-0, and we're done within, like, 2 hours. But that was such an amazing best of 3, and these are 2 very closely matched teams. First game went so heavily towards Faculty, I thought it was just going to be another 2-0, but GamingGear proving they are really strong, and the fact that they don't have a shot caller may be one of those key factors which brought them into the game, and in fact won it in two games in a row.
Hey, maybe more people need to take note that democracy is always a good thing, even in a team format. But that's going to do it for us for this best of 3. We do have another coming up straight afterwards, I believe. Copenhagen Wolves are already playing. They've already finished the first game. It went 1-0 to them. So I think we're jumping in for game number 2, Pulse.
Yes, indeed, and we should be jumping to a quick break very shortly. I'm just being messaged by a couple of the players, so we should be jumping to that very shortly. But I guess we'll do a bit of plugging before we head on to the next best of 3, because we have been casting for a very long time. You on the other stream, and only now getting the exposure that you really deserve, and I've been here for a while as well. So Metas, where can people find you if they want to see more of you on the internet?
If you enjoyed the cast, then by all means go over to facebook.com/MetasTV or twitch.tv/Metas. Please follow the stream as well, guys, bottom left underneath the screen. But Pulse, you have been a trooper on this stream for the last, 4 hours or so. Where can they find you?
Yeah, something like that.